report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull. When you tune in to the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. Hanging at the fish report. You got Craig and TK and Heather D. Tune in at the fish report.
Coming to you live from Studio F in Russia, Ohio. It's the Fish Report Live Show with your hosts, Craig Fissinger and Ken Francis.
And welcome, everyone, to another Fish Report Live. I'm Craig Fissinger. That is Ken Francis. Thanks for joining us back in our sound room tonight. It's TK and Heavy D. We'll talk to them a little bit later in the show. And out in Studio R, of course, it's Covey and Kearns. Always excited to hear what they have to say. Ken, another fun night on FRL, talking regular season and even talking a little tournament.
Craig, it's hard to believe we're talking postseason basketball. We're going to go out to Studio R here in a little bit, talk to Covey and Kearns, see what they predict for the upcoming tournament draw this weekend in girls basketball. Hard to believe, Craig, we're talking that already this year. Seems like it wasn't that long ago we were talking about our early season preseason teams who we thought would be good. Well, now we're talking about tournament already, Craig. And then we're going to go live and talk to the head coach of the Minster Wildcats, and that's Michael McClurg. Coach McClurg running the Minster program. Craig is in his second season. He got his team off to a late start this year. Fortunately for the Wildcats, they won another state championship. You know, his basketball team didn't kick off until after Thanksgiving, so he was about a month behind everybody, but he's done a great job of catching his kids up with everybody else, and we're going to see what he has to say about his Wildcats, the tough schedule that he's had, Craig. You play those MAC teams in and out, and plus all the Shelby County League teams that he plays, and just a grueling schedule for the Wildcats, but we're going to see what he has to say about that and all the talent over there that he has in Minster.
Yeah, I always enjoy talking about the Midwest Athletic Conference. Last week we talked about it on the girls' side, of course, with Jackie Stonebreaker over there at Versailles. Tonight we're back in the MAC. Sounds like that should be a song. Back in the MAC. I hit the sack. Been so long, I'm glad to be back.
Sound like AC/DC now.
A little bit. So, all right, Ken. Well, again, a lot of good regular season games to be played yet before we get to tournament, and we're talking boys tonight. So let's tonight's poll question has to do with some big games coming up this weekend.
Some big games this weekend, Craig. Which weekend boys matchup are you most forward looking to watch? Is it Minster at Marion Local on Friday? Is it Sidney at Troy on Friday? Troy Christian at Bethel? Or is it going to be Marion Local at Fort Loramie? Big game there between the MAC and the Shelby County League, Craig. If I had to pick one, that's the one I would be picking, but battle of two great basketball teams right there. But we're going to go out to TK later in the show and see what our viewers are saying and which game they're looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, if you're watching us on the Fish Report Live page on your computer or your phone, you can, of course, scroll down, help us answer tonight's poll question, and check the results. If you're watching us on NK Telco, as Ken said, TK is going to have those results for you at the end of the show. All right, Ken, well, let's get things started and talk a little girls basketball. Again, regular season still going on here. Most teams in the SCAL, I believe all of them at least have 2 or 3 more league games left to play. So let's take a look at the standings and see where we're at.
Well, Craig, when you look at the standings right now, Fort Loramie has not officially wrapped up the league championship check, Craig, but they're getting really close. They're sitting at 9-0, 2 games ahead of the Russia Raiders, who are having another great year. But Craig, they're at 7-2, and Anna right there behind game behind the Raiders at 7-3. So the Redskins under Coach Carlos Siegel. Again, Craig, a lot of young talent over there. They're having a phenomenal year. They got to go over to Russia and play yet, Craig. But again, they got a 2-game cushion there, so they can afford a setback. And the Raiders just got to hope that somebody else knocks the Redskins off, Craig. But I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah, a lot's going to have to happen there. Of course, Loramie still has a game with Jackson Center coming up. Jackson Center sitting there at the bottom of the standings. Probably a little surprising to me to see where they're likely going to end up this year. But Mike Maurer over there can always, or excuse me, not Mike Maurer, but over there at Jackson Center, Coach Reese is always good for a couple upsets on the season, so we'll see if they can pull one off. All right, Ken, we want to go out to Studio R, talk to Covey and Kearns. So, guys, let's check in with them. And guys, I can't believe we're talking a little tournament. Can you?
No, I can't believe it. It seems like just yesterday, Daniel, we were predicting our preseason picks.
Before we get things started, do want to say, I know last week we were talking MAC girls basketball, and I got an email today from Scott Ward over there at Tiger Country 97.5 FM, WTGR.com, and you guys predicted Minster to beat the Versailles Tigers last Thursday night. Of course, that didn't happen. Versailles won that game. He wanted to make sure I gave you guys a little bit of a little ribbing there for picking the Wildcats, and not sure if you've heard from him at all since that game at all. How about you, Covey?
Oh, I've heard from him on 3 separate occasions about this now for picking Minster. But, if those are 2 great teams that battled, if they play 10 times, each team's going to win 5 times. Versailles came out and played really dominant that first half. They were flying all over the floor. They wanted it more than Minster. Minster clawed back in the second half. But the first half lead Versailles built up was too much. And I know, Daniel, you're in a little bit of a rough spot because you have a lady friend that plays on the Minster team, so I know you had to pick Minster.
Yeah, I believe wholeheartedly that Minster was going to take that game. But the second quarter that Versailles had was amazing. I mean, the ball movement that they had, the tempo was in their hands. They were controlling everything. And the way that they used their inside drills was great. They got the ball inside and they scored it every time. So tip the cap to them for a great game.
Craig, we had the opportunity to go over there and watch that game. What a game it was. And, I was really impressed. By the way, we did pick Versailles. Both we did, right?
Absolutely.
I thought we did. So, anyways, but Cammie McEldowney just had a phenomenal game. She just dominated the game offensively and defensively. The Winter girls inside. I was just really impressed with Versailles, their overall talent. Like you said, Minster's got a great team as well. But they're kind of on a little skid right now, but I think they'll right the ship here real quick and get things ready for the postseason.
Yeah, that's of course that was a Division III team. They were playing there in Versailles. As we mentioned last time, those two will see each other for sure. They'll be going in separate tournaments, of course. But guys, want to talk a little tournament out there, and we want to talk Sydney Sectional. It's our favorite, of course. Always a fun sectional over there. And what we're going to do is there's 12 teams, of course, that Sydney Sectional. It's going to be drawn this Sunday, and we're going to get your predictions on these 12 seeds. So we'll start out with the bottom 4 seeds. We'll take those 4 first, then go to the middle 4 seeds and the top 4 seeds. But want to know who your seeds are, guys. Let's start out with 9 through 12.
Well, rounding out the bottom, we're going to start off with Mississinewa and Fairlawn. It was a simple decision to pick where was where because Fairlawn beat Mississinewa early in the season for their first win in about 25 games. Fairlawn making slow improvements in their second season under Coach Cathcart. And I got Ansonia at the 10th spot. Ansonia's beaten, I think, both Fairlawn and Mississinewa this year. And right after them, I got NWCC Conference Riverside coming in at 9.
Yeah, not a lot to talk about there, guys, with those bottom 4 seeds, but really do want to get to those middle 4 because that's always kind of interesting. So let's jump right ahead to seeds 5 through 8. What do you got for that, Covey?
Well, at 8, I got the Houston Wildcats, and I think they're a very dangerous team. They started out the season real slow. They could have been in that 11-12 seed, but they really have right the ship here the past couple of weeks, and I have them in the 8th spot right now. Next, I got the Lehman Catholic Cavaliers. That they haven't been really noticeable. They've been in that spot for the past couple years, so we kind of know what we expect from them. And right behind them, at a 6th seed, I predict is the Jackson Center Tigers, who are a very dangerous team as a 6th seed. They came into Russia, almost beat the Raiders the other week. Can't score a lot of points, but they can certainly pull off an upset or two if they want to in the tournament. And 5th seed, I got Triad out of the Ohio Heritage Conference. Don't know a whole lot about them. Hope to learn a little more about them.
Yeah, for sure. All those middle teams right there, you can't sleep on any of them. I mean, their records don't speak for themselves. I mean, all of them, they're hardworking teams on any given day, just like you said. Jackson almost came into Russia and upset Russia. So come tournament time, every team just gets a little more fire with them, so you can't sleep on anybody.
All right, guys, and those top 4 seeds, of course, that's what everyone wants to know. What do you got for seeds 1 through 4?
Well, starting off with the 4th seed, I got the Botkins Trojans, and we'll have the chance to see them tomorrow night come to Russia and play. Sarah Bergman, Paige Lane, the senior duo leading the team. Going to need some more scoring. Like I said, they're a very similar team to Jackson. But I have them at the 4th spot right now. After splitting with Jackson, they have about double the amount of wins that Jackson does. So that's why I put Botkins in 4th seed. What do you think, Dan?
For the 4th seed, yeah, definitely Botkins. I can agree with you on that. They're for sure going to be a great team, but coming into Russia next year, I mean, tomorrow night, I don't think they'll get the win, but for sure they're a good team for the 4th spot.
And at 3, I have Mechanicsburg. It's hard to do your research on a team that you don't see very often, kind of like Triad or Riverside, for example. But the Mechanicsburg Indians are having a 13-5 season. They actually played the Raiders last year in the sectionals, almost nearly pulled off the upset, but the Raiders pulled away and won by 10. Hear the Dodane name often up there. I think Coach Dodane is still coaching up there. That's all I really know about the Mechanicsburg Indians.
Yeah, last year I remember watching Russia and Mechanicsburg. Mechanicsburg definitely gave Russia a game, although being a very young team last year. So definitely I'll be able to see them play and probably give at least a couple people a game and possibly make it to the sectional finals.
Yeah, I think Mechanicsburg beat Jackson Center maybe earlier in the season by 20 points, so that's a common opponent maybe people can base it off of. And at number 2, I got the Russia Raiders. It was a tough pick between them and Laramie, but Russia obviously losing that first game against Laramie will put them in at the 2 seed. Struggled, lost some games to some good teams. They lost to Anna, lost to Tri-Village, Versailles, Minster, and so on. But this is a team that I think can make a solid tournament run, a district regional run maybe. They're going to have a tough sectional because you don't know what Mechanicsburg could throw at them. Say that would be a potential sectional final matchup. But I know Coach Timmerman's going to have his girls ready to play and look to win their 3rd sectional title in the past 4 years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the Raiders are a great team. At times they've struggled, especially earlier in the week against Tri-Village. Offensively, they only put 22 points up, so they'll have to be strong offensively. I know they got the young freshman Ashley Scott coming off the bench for him, and she doesn't look to score that much offensively, and I think that's what kind of hurt him against Tri-Village with no one else really getting ready to go off for their team. So yeah, I can definitely see Russia making a great run.
And sliding in at the 1 seed, obviously, here is the Fort Laramie Redskins under Coach Carlos Siegel. Got a lot of young players. They're 9-0. They're a good team. I don't know if this sectional is as strong as maybe what Minster and New Bremen and Fort Recoveries is, but certainly I could throw Laramie in the mix, and they'll compete with those type of teams. I think Laramie will roll through the sectional really easily here. Might have to play at Jackson Center, but I really don't think many other teams stack up to them in the sectionals. I think they'll roll through. They'll probably attack that Cincinnati region, win that district pretty easy, and I think they'll make it to the regionals, and we'll see where they can go from there.
Yeah, I can for sure agree with that. Number 1 seed, it's almost a no-brainer right there. They're a great team. I mean, when I saw them against Russia, I mean, all those sophomores out there, they look like they've been playing varsity basketball for a couple years here, and definitely they'll look to make a great tournament run.
All right, guys, great stuff there. And if you did have maybe one sleeper in that 12-team bracket, or those 2 brackets you have there, any ideas on who could be a possible sleeper? Or 3 brackets is actually what that splits
3
up.
brackets there.
I'm definitely going to go with the Jackson Center Tigers, sitting there right in the middle of the pack at 6. Jackson Center, their girls and guys play the same way: low-scoring, hard-nosed defense, well-disciplined, high basketball IQs. And I can pick off. Jackson Center can pick off any one of these 11 teams at any given time, even if it's Laramie, Russia, Mechanicsburg, anyone ahead of them. So I don't think they're built for a deep tournament run like a Russia or Laramie, but they're certainly capable of picking off a game or 2.
Yeah, I'd agree with you with the Jackson Center Tigers. I mean, just like you said, their defense is one of a kind around in this area. They held Russia to 27 points earlier in the season, but they only put up 21. So offensively, they're not that great of a team, but defensively, if they can keep it low scoring, they're definitely in the game and they can knock off anybody.
All right, great stuff there, guys. Thanks for that. That's going to do it for our girls basketball talk. Ken, we want to slip in some SCAL boys here real quick. So let's pull up those boys standings and see where they're sitting at right now.
Well, big night last night in the Shelby County League. Russia and Anna hooked horns over there at the launching pad in Anna. Russia coming away with a huge league win last night, Craig, by 2 points over the Anna Rockets. So Russia and Fort Laramie tied, both at 7-1 at the top of the Shelby County League standings. The Anna Rockets are not out of this by any means, Craig. They're at 7-2. And then Jackson Center and the rest of them following suit there. So it's a 3-team race yet, Craig. We said it was going to be a 3-team race at the beginning of the season. We definitely predicted that right. And Fort Laramie, Russia, right there at the top on 7-1. And it's going to be a great finish. Each team's got 4 games left in the Shelby County League. There's no gimmies. There's no cupcakes. And it's just going to be a great finish.
And, of course, that last league game for both the Raiders and the Redskins is versus each other.
Versus each other, Craig, at Russia's Claire C. Naveau Gymnasium. You know, the first time the 2 teams got together, Fort Laramie walked away with, I think, around a 15-point victory at Fort Laramie. But, you know, a long way to go in between those between that game. You know, Russia's got a tough game Friday night with Botkins. They got to go at Fairlawn yet. So we'll see what happens. But I'm sure Coach Croniner, he'll have his troops ready just like he did last night. And, you know, look forward for that big rematch with Fort Laramie.
All right, well, let's take a short break, but stay right there. When we come back, we're going to talk some MAC boys basketball, including that interview with Minster coach Michael McClurg.
My father said it's time to be home man, but don't go and tall in the motherland. When you were born with heart, raised on pride, this is gonna go wrong through your bloodline. Oh, 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 loaded, bruised, and slain. Oh, 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 pride in this name. When the skies run deep within this blue, false use devised by foolish views. Religious divide among the may create civil war on my family. Oh, 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 bloody, bruised, and slain. Oh, 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 pride in this name.
And welcome back to the second half of Fish Report Live. Before the break, we were talking some SCAL girls and boys basketball. Ken, now we're going to talk a little MAC boys basketball. And let's check out their standings and see where the MAC's sitting at right now.
Well, Craig, the MAC, like always, Craig, very competitive. Sitting at the top of the league standings right now is the Versailles Tigers. They're at 5-0 and equal with them in the loss column there. Marion Local also undefeated. Craig at 4-0. St. Henry just a game back at 4-1, and the Minster Wildcats and Delphi St. John's both sitting at 3-2. So very competitive league, Craig, from top to bottom. You know, you right there on the bottom, you got Fort Recovery on 0-5, and just last week I think they were even with Fort Loramie in the fourth quarter. So shows you the strength of the MAC again, Craig. And but you know, Versailles and Marion Local and St. Henry probably the cream of the crop, but the Minster Wildcats got a lot to say what's going to happen.
Yeah, of course, we got to see those Minster Wildcats up close earlier this season. Always an interesting team to watch. Their head coach in his second season is Michael McClurg. Happy to have him live on the phone right now. Coach, welcome to Fish Report Live, and thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. How you doing, gentlemen?
Well, listen, we just went over those MAC standings, and for someone that didn't know any better, Coach, they might look at Minster and say, 9-5, they're okay this season. But when you look at your last three losses, they're to St. Henry, Versailles, and Fort Loramie, all state-ranked teams. Does that ease your pain at all a little bit?
Yeah, well, obviously that's three solid teams, you know, and the losing stings, but, you know, we're going to try and use those games, and then actually the two coming up to learn where we need to get better. You know, I think the record tells a story about where we're at, obviously, but we don't put a ton of value in it. I think it's just, from our perspective, it's just compete and get better.
All right, well, listen, this is a team that got a late start again. Ken mentioned that at the top of the show because of another one of those darn state titles in football. But, you know, you had three players, I believe, on that team, and Isaac Smeezing, Jared Hulsman, and Cody Frericks. Does that present any challenges for you getting those kids motivated to compete, you know, 20-plus games during the regular season?
Yeah, and actually it's, you know, of our 8-man rotation, 6 of them played football. And so that, you know, obviously late. And I think, you know, I think just for 3-sport athletes in general, I think, you know, which most of our kids are, I do think it's a challenge. I'd be lying if I said it wasn't. You know, I think it's you know, just to, you know, keep them hungry. And, you know, but, you know, one of the things that we try to do just as a group is put a lot on them. You know, it's not just about it being a coach's program or our staff's program. It's, you know, it's their program. But, yeah, it's a challenge. It's a constant challenge, I think.
Coach, hi, this is Ken. And let's talk a little bit about your group of seniors. I know earlier in the year you said you got a special group of seniors on this team. Like you mentioned, they're coming off a state championship in football. What makes these seniors so special, and what have they done to bring this team together so quickly for you?
Yeah, I think it's just the character side with the seniors. I coached most of them when they were when I was a JV coach with Mike, and so I got to know them pretty well. So there's a realness to these guys. There's not a lot of walls up. I mean, we're all pretty truthful and open with each other, and there's some pretty good relationships there. So it's a special group in that sense, more from just how we operate together.
Coach, let's talk a little bit about your big game Friday night. You take on the tough Marion Local Flyers. You travel over to the hangar over in Mariastein. What challenges do you see here? They're obviously a great basketball team. They've got a lot of size. They've got a lot of skill on that team. What's going to, what's the game plan? What's it going to take for the Tigers to get a win over there Friday night?
Wildcats. Yeah, we're going to, obviously and you mentioned it. It's they're big and athletic, and they're pretty skilled. They measure inside. Just he's physical. I mean, he's 6'1", 6'2", and just works his tail off from start to finish. And Bruns is a very skilled player. He's tall and he's long. Goes inside, outside. Pringer kid, and that really can shoot it. And he's really quick. And then they've got a few other kids that are pretty good as well. They pound the paint offensively, and they do a good job. They get to the free throw line a lot. So we're just gonna have to play extremely hard. Match their intensity and bring the intensity from our standpoint. I expect it to be a pretty good ball game.
Coach, I know you've had a brutal schedule. I know you're taking them one game at a time, but let's take a look ahead to about 10 days from now for the tournament draw. It's the Walpog District. It's always extremely tough. It's been about 6 or 7 years since 2011 since the Wildcats have actually got out of that sectional. I know you got the team to do it this year. What's it going to take for the Wildcats to advance to the district this year?
Yeah, I think we have the pieces, and I think it's we're finding part of this stretch for us is finding what we need to work on and getting exposed on a few things. So I think it's getting better, and there's a long list of things that we need to get better at. So we're taking it, like you said, day by day, and really two of the teams, one of the teams we just played Monday, and the team we played Friday are both in our district. Along with New Bremen, and there's a lot of good teams. Upper Sauter Valley, a lot of good teams that we're going to play or have a chance to play in that district. So, we've got to bring a lot of pieces together over the next 3 weeks. 3 weeks doesn't sound long, but I think you can get a lot done in 3 weeks, and that's our target right now.
Coach, one more question before I turn you back over to Craig, and let's talk about the inside presence of your big man, and that's 6'9" Jared Schultze. He's got a lot of skills. He's big. He's athletic. He's got great hands. He's just a junior. Give us a little feedback on Jared and what the future holds for him and the importance of he is right now on your team.
Yeah, he's a big time part of what we're doing. 2 years ago, we didn't know. 3 years ago, we didn't know what Jared. I mean, we knew he was big, knew he was tall, and the kid's worked. He's worked in the weight room. He's squatting his tail off. He's working in the weight room, but he works in his skill all the time, and he's hungry. He's a kid that he does. He just wants to constantly get better. So, I think his ceiling's pretty high yet. He's 6'9". Is he going to grow anymore? We don't know that, but I think he can grow in terms of skill and strength and things like that. And I think he's going to. Highly motivated right now. He really is.
Well, hey, Coach, one more question before we let you go. But speaking of Jared and speaking of some of those other talented players you have on your team, has any of them drawn any interest maybe at playing at the next level?
Yeah, we have a bunch of them. I think Jared Hulsman has some interest in playing college football. A lot of those guys, which is interesting, for the seniors, they really start thinking about that stuff right now. And Jared Hulsman has some interest in playing college football. I think Alex Lemkel talked with him a while ago, and he had some interest in playing baseball. I think Jack Hyperink will have interest in playing baseball. I think Mike Kettner has interest, our point guard, at playing basketball at the next level. I think Isaac Smeezing has a little bit of interest in playing basketball at the next level, and then obviously Jared. And Jared wants to, he wants to play college basketball, and so I think there's a lot of them that are trying to do some things in college.
Coach, listen, that's all great stuff. I know you're a busy man. Craig and I and TK and Heavy D in the sound room, we all appreciate over here at Fish Report you taking time out of your busy schedule to get on our show with us tonight. Hang in there. Take good luck to you guys this weekend and the rest of your season, and get the Wildcats get a good tournament run for you guys this year.
I appreciate it, guys, and thank you for having me.
Thanks, Coach.
Absolutely.
Yep, bye.
All right, and that was the head coach of the Minster Wildcats, Michael McClurg.
I called them Tigers. I apologize for that, all you Minster fans.
Well, he was a
Wildcat.
he was a Tiger.
He was a Tiger. He's a Versailles graduate, so I must have been thinking that at the time.
I wonder what those Versailles guys think about him. Of course, that happens a lot. You get the Versailles guys going to Minster and vice versa. And
that's right.
You even get some Russia guys going to Fort Laramie every once in a while.
Every once in a while, you do.
All right, well, listen, let's go back in the sound room and check in with the guys before we close things up tonight. And, guys, I wanted to make you aware. I don't know if you know, but Ken over here was a big-time winner last night at the Anna Russia game in the 50-50. I'm not sure what he went, $2,800? Is that what it was?
Something like that.
Something like that. But I guess we know who's buying this weekend.
Yeah, we got that covered. So we're got 2 games this weekend, so we split that half and half, and we'll do all right, I think.
Yeah.
We might have to hit the whistle stop Saturday night.
There we go.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we got one more thing to get to, and that is tonight's poll question. Ken, why don't you read that for our viewers again?
Well, Craig, our question this weekend covers the big weekend boys matchups, and which one of these games are you most looking forward to? Is it Minster at Marion Local, Sydney at Troy, Troy Christian at Bethel, or Marion Local at Fort Laramie? TK, what does the telemetrics have to say tonight?
Well, it looks like we've got a lot of Marion fans on the line tonight because it's split between Marion Minster gets 40% and Marion Fort Laramie Saturday gets 40%. So 2 great games, and I don't know that either one's a bad one to go see.
Yep.
You're right there. I agree with them. Some good games there. The Sydney-Troy game, Craig, has a lot of interest in that one, too. Of course, you got Rushie's old basketball coach, Coach Ball Brumgen, over there heading up the Troy program. And, of course, he's taking on Andre Gordon over there, one of the top players in the entire state of Ohio. So that'll be a good one as well.
One game that wasn't on there, of course, was the Russia at Ansonia game on Saturday night. Should be a fun one. You just mentioned the whistle stop, and I know Heavy D, when he heads to the whistle stop, he typically doesn't even go to the whistle stop. He goes across the road to the gas station and likes to hang out there. At least that's what you did all summer.
Yeah, there's a pretty good chance that Ansonia's going to have better uniforms than us this weekend.
I heard him announce that one night on a Thursday night this past summer.
All right, guys, great stuff there, and that's going to wrap it up for us tonight. I do want to say special thanks to our guest, Coach Michael McClurg, for joining us on the show. Ken and I and the crew will all be back again next week, same time, same place. Until then, have a great rest of the week, and good night, everyone.
Hanging at the fish report. 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 For your latest news in high school sports, tune in to the fish report. Don't need no bed, don't need no pull when you tune in to the fish report. Hanging at the fish report.